Parents, we can almost sense that moment that chaos is going to erupt. Our child suddenly covers their ears in that noisy restaurant. There might be those precursors to the meltdown in the grocery store, or we might notice they're becoming overwhelmed with the tags in their clothing to rip them off, throw them across the room. And, we've got to start just getting ready for school all over again. Now, a lot of times these can be dismissed as behavioral issues, or sometimes people even suggest that the child will just grow out of it. They're just something they're going through, a phase. And so we ask ourselves as parents, what if these reactions are actually signs of something deeper happening in our child's nervous system, or are they just something normal? Well, when we look at the stats, it's been reported that almost 40% of children struggle with bigger chronic health conditions today. That's a big, big number. And one of the biggest things in these are sensory processing issues, oftentimes referred to as either sensory issues, SPD, but they're becoming increasingly common. And just traditional approaches often focus on avoiding those triggers, right? Like keep the environment calm, remove the tags, make things more sensory easy. But they oftentimes miss the underlying neurological imbalances that just create that sensory overload. So going back to the root cause of it. Now, the medical system tends to look at these challenges through separate, call it diagnostic lenses. It might be autism, ADHD, anxiety, kind of I call it the alphabet soup of it. When they're often connected by one common thread, dysregulation within the nervous system. So I want to look at that today. I want to understand this dysregulation and really understand the overstimulation of the nervous system from that neurological perspective that leads to this dysregulation. Now, oftentimes, overstimulation can occur when the brain receives more sensory input than it can effectively process. Think of it like a traffic jam in the brain and nervous system. Too many signals trying to get through all at once. This isn't just about behavior, it's about how your child's brain and nervous system are receiving that information. So there's two key branches that what the nervous system does when they receive an overwhelming input. They either activate the sympathetic, the fight or flight side, or if they're not receiving too much information, they're able to activate the parasympathetic, the rest or digest side. So what often happens when you get this overstimulation of sensory, motor, behavioral input from the environment coming in, they're immediately activating that sympathetic or fight or flight side, and that tones down or turns off the rest or digest parasympathetic side. And when this often occurs for a long period of time, overdevelopment, kids get stuck in this sympathetic dominance. Now, this can create a cascade of effects, not just sensory right away. Oftentimes, it's led by difficulty sleeping, digestive issues, behavioral emotions early on. But then when it all adds up, it often goes deeper and becomes more chronic. And that's when we see those sensory, emotional challenges really take hold. Now, this overstimulation, it really starts from a perfect storm of factors. There's never quite just one thing. And this is why every kiddo really presents a little bit different, but it oftentimes starts a little bit different too when we look at sensory challenges. Now, prenatal stress can impact fetal brain development and sensory processing. What's very interesting here is even at 6 to 8 weeks in utero when baby's starting to develop, sometimes even before a mom can realize that she's pregnant, a baby's nervous system is starting to develop. That sympathetic, parasympathetic side are starting to react to its environment. And if it's more stuck on that sympathetic side, even from that point in early development, it's going to continue to build that side stronger than that rest or relax side. Then you go into birth, and oftentimes when there's interventions or bigger interventions that happen more physically, like a C-section, forceps, vacuum, that physical stress on that child, on that nervous system, that really adds up to that sympathetic system not being able to turn off in early childhood. Then add the perfect storm stress of environment, social factors, immune factors, all of those things we deal with our kids from 3, 4, 5 years old. And you've created this perfect storm of challenges where the child's brain is very overstimulated and you're really not sure what it's coming from, but it's reacting as a sensory struggle. So what does this often look like physically? Now, physically, this can mean headaches, nausea, fatigue. Oftentimes you can see it as a parent. This is where, your kid's shoulders are up, where they might be walking on their toes. They might be teeth grinding. They're clenching their jaw a little bit. They just can't sit still. And physically, their nervous system is overstimulated. Now, emotionally, you might see this come out as irritability, anxiety, outburst. Behaviorally, you'll see this, they can't focus. They might be melting down quicker or easier, or they might seek quiet spaces to avoid a lot of that sensory input because their brain's already getting too much. Now, as a neurologically focused chiropractor, we can help with this. We want to go back all the way to the beginning and say, okay, if the nervous system is overwhelmed with sensory input from all of those factors, how do we help calm that? Well, there's a few things that we need to dive into first before we can help it. One, we have to identify the areas where the nervous system is having that dysfunction. Oftentimes when there's stress early on, it can be from the upper neck, it can be from the shoulders, because those are the areas that are more impacted from delivery and birth stress. But wherever it is, once we find them, developing a care plan that's unique for that child to allow us to get in there and provide precise, easy, gentle adjustments to release that stuck sympathetic stress is going to help the child turn off the sympathetics and activate that parasympathetic nervous system for better regulation. So really what this is about is getting to that root cause of brain input rather than just managing the symptoms. It allows the child to better regulate from the inside out. Now, if you're ready as a parent to really look deeper and look at the root cause of all the challenges, we would love to help. We focus neurologically with chiropractic care. At PwC, we use this state-of-the-art insight scanning technology. That's what we do to identify exactly where in your child's nervous system the struggle is, and then create that care plan that can help them with their specific needs. Now, lasting change, it's not easy. It's not quick. You know that as a parent. If you're watching this video and you're this far through, it might be late at night and you're like, I just don't know why they are so overstimulated. The first step is diving into what their nervous system looks like, and that's where the scan can help. It's non-invasive, it's gentle, and it can be done with your child sitting right next to you or even on your lap. Then we can see how their sensory system, their brain, their nervous system is adapting to the world around it. Is it overwhelmed? And how can we help calm it? How can we help calm it? So if this sounds like something you can help, visit our link in our bio, comment below, learn more about this. We really want to help your child experience it without being overwhelmed by it. The world can be a crazy place. A lot comes in from the outside in, but how do we help children heal from the inside out to better be able to handle it, be stronger, and not be so overwhelmed by the environment around them? Take care, guys. God bless.